Okay, I want to welcome everybody to our March program meeting. We're very happy to see folks here joining in on even yet still a sunny evening. And we are very excited to have Vjera talk to us about eBird. We'll be beginning that program shortly. I have a couple of announcements to make, and Debbie's going to put up the next slide, which we mentioned last month. We're hoping to find a new coordinator for our Audubon Adventures program, which is a wonderful program that has been well received in the schools. And I won't go into a lot of detail, except if you have any interest in helping us with this program, then you can use my phone number, which is down at the bottom, and my email address, which is also available in the newsletter and online on the website. So please feel free to call, and we can talk about maybe approaching a solution to finding a new Audubon Adventures coordinator. Next slide, Debbie. We're also briefly going to we've arranged for an April bike path cleanup, which I think we can do successfully by social distancing, since it's all outside, and we cover 2.5 miles of the bike path and go different directions. So the group, however many we have, will split up in 2 directions. We can go down the path on each side, and family units can stay together and work together, and then the rest of us can keep distance socially. I know we've already had one person sign up to join that group, so we're looking forward to getting out to do our bike path cleanup this spring. And we do see great birds while we're doing it, so you can also enjoy bird watching while you're helping clean up the bike path. There was a message that just came up that Rebecca wants to share some information about bike path or bird walks. So we can, I don't know what your next slide is, Debbie.
Rebecca, why don't you go for now?
Okay, hi. I have been doing small walks for the past few months, smaller ones to keep safe during COVID, but I upped the number to 10 for this past weekend's bird walk, and everybody was very safe. We all kept masks on and distance. So I'm going to up the number of participants probably again for the April walk, which is April 17th. So if people want to start going on bird walks again, then go ahead and email me about that. It's rebecca.waterman@gmail.com, and that is on the website and the Instagram. I also wanted to let people know that the Open Oregon Birders WhatsApp group is starting to host live events also. Our next one will be April 15th, and former Eugene resident Stephen Nance will be performing some of their birdiest songs. They perform under the name Sparkbird, so there'll be a live Zoom event for that. And I'm also going to start getting a team together for Global Big Day, although I won't be able to do it on the actual day since I'll be on a pelagic. But I would like to form a team for an alternate date for another Global Big Day. So if there's any questions, again, get a hold of me via email. There are a couple of WhatsApp groups that people might not know about. In addition to the Open Oregon Birders WhatsApp group, there is a new Open Lane County Birders WhatsApp group. So if you'd like information on that, just let me know. And that's it. Okay.
Thanks, Max. I got just a couple of announcements. Many of you know that Lane Audubon is part of the City of Eugene's Pollinator Protection Group, and we are hoping to spotlight the diversity of bees, some of the threats that they are undergoing right now, and most importantly, how we as a community can come together to provide solutions to support the bees. So we'll start that out with a webinar on Wednesday, March 31st, and anybody's welcome to join us, and we'll get that link up on our various sites within the next few days. I also wanted to just make a real quick conservation announcement. This is helping out the folks at Lincoln City Audubon who are working to have Cape Foulweather and Cape Lookout designated as marine conservation areas to protect very important rocky habitat and offshore natural resources. The people who make these decisions need to hear from the public that this is something that the public does support. So if you are interested in providing a comment or supporting it with their petition, please go to the Lincoln City Audubon website and you can just click on their petition, sign your name, or you can submit a comment independently and they'll give you information as to how you can do that. So we've been really successful in the last few years at establishing marine reserves and protected areas in Oregon, and we want to keep it going. And they've identified some really important habitat for ocean birds, shorebirds, etc. So help out if you can. And I will turn it over to Dennis.
Okay, I just wanted to talk a little bit about next month's meeting. We're going to have Nate Center. Some of you remember Nate. He lived here about 8 years ago. He spent about 2 years here. He was studying Hudsonian godwits at the time, going down to the Arctic and following them down there and back up here and all that. Well, he's now an assistant professor of ornithology at the University of South Carolina. So he's going to be zooming in from a long distance to do a talk for us next month. He's going to be talking about flamingos in the saline lakes of the Altiplano of Chile. It's an amazing place, and flamingos are amazing birds. There are 3 species of flamingo, 3 out of 6 in the world are found in these saline lakes. And the flamingos have a strange connection with your iPhone and iPad and your electric car. You may be wondering what that is. Well, the connection is lithium. Lithium is a metal that is used in the batteries for many of these high-tech kinds of things. And lithium is also found in these areas where these high elevation saline lakes are. So it's going to be an interesting talk. It's going to be about amazing birds in an amazing place. So that'll be next month. Now for tonight we are very pleased to have Vjera Thompson here. She has been active in Eugene Springfield birding community for a long time. She was the compiler for the Eugene Christmas bird count, and she's done over 25 of the Christmas bird counts so far. She is also likes to be a green birder. That is, she likes to do her birding by walking and using her bicycle rather than driving around like I do. Anyway, she's an expert birder and we're very pleased to have her. She is going to talk to us about eBird, an amazing free app from Cornell University. I started using eBird when the pandemic came and I wasn't able to go out in big groups like I usually do. And I found putting the bird information into my phone was really interesting and worked very well. I had a lot of fun doing it, but I didn't know a lot. So I'd ask a lot of questions and now I kind of know the basics, but Vjera is kind of the expert in this. And so we decided that this is a great resource for us and we'd like to know more about it. And so we're going to have Vjera tell us all about this amazing resource. Take it over, Vjera.
All right, thanks, Dennis. I'm going to start us out with a poll here. So if you haven't done a Zoom poll before, go ahead and click an option here. So I want to know, what is your experience level with eBird? And people won't be able to see what you voted, but it will help me know what to talk about here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen while you guys are voting. All right, you should be able to see eBird now. And I'll give it about 5 more seconds and we'll end the poll here. All right, so we have a couple people who've never heard of eBird, a bunch of people that are interested in eBird, haven't used it yet, people who have room to learn, and a few people who have gone through the tutorial, and a few people that have used eBird quite a lot. All right, thank you for giving me that overview here. So, as Dennis said, eBird is an online application. This is the website here. And it started in 2002. It's an international bird database. And we're going to focus on the website today. There's also an app on your phone that you can use to put data in. From the website, you can get data out of eBird and get more information there. So I joined it in 2012, but I was a member of a different internet database before this. So I've been using bird internet databases since 1999. So a long time using this. When eBird added the app on the phone, it really changed the way I took care of my bird notes and was able to track a lot more than I did before. So it's very widely used. Last month, they hit a new record with 140,000 people using eBird. And Rebecca mentioned the Global Big Day. That's one of their joint partnership where they try to get a lot of people involved in eBird. Last year, there's about 50,000 people participated in one day, and they submitted 120,000 checklists. And I'm gonna go over here and show you today's submission. So this one takes just a minute to load. So this is all the checklists that have been submitted today. You can see 41,000 checklists and counting. All these gray dots are various places around the world people have gone birding today and submitted data. And these yellow dots are people just now submitting. So this page is really fun on Global Big Day if you want to watch it. It's rather mesmerizing. So on Global Big Day this last year, they found 6,479 species. So we had quite a fun day with a lot of people participating. So there's a couple things I'm not going to talk about today. I'm not planning to talk about some of the basics that the eBird Essentials tutorial goes through. I'll show you where that is if you want to take it. And I'm not planning to talk about Merlin. There's an app that you can put photos into or details, and it will help you identify a bird, and it will connect it over to eBird. So that's an option that you can learn about later as well. And I'm not going to talk much about the phone app. eBird Essentials does go over that quite a bit, but that's more about putting data in. Today, I'm going to focus more on getting data out of eBird and what is available there. So I'm going to go through a bunch of the resources that are available for anybody to use, whether you put data in there or not. And then I'm going to go through some of the tools that if you choose to put data in, then you can find ways to look at your information. And I'll go over a few ways to learn more. So that's our basic outline here today. So this from all the pages on eBird here. So eBird's a website, and you would go to ebird.org to get there, and you do have to create a login to be able to see most of the information, but they won't use, give away your email address or anything like that. Once you get in here, we've got some options here, and a lot of the stuff they're able to do with our data, they're able to use it for science and make some really cool graphs. So if we go up here to the science page, there is a whole bunch of things that you can see what eBird has been able to use. And you may have heard about these cool heat maps. So let's go ahead and look at a bird that migrates from North America to South America. Let's go ahead and look at Swainson's thrush. And if we look at the abundance animation here, we will be able to see a map that has come from the data that people like me and lots of other people have put into the system here. So you can see it, the migration going all the way up north and then all the way back down south as the year expands. So there's a lot of options here to be able to explore all kinds of things. And they've got some of these now across the whole world, some of them just in the Americas. So that's one way that you can see some really cool information here as to how our data is able to be used to make a difference for science. Most of the rest of the things we're going to look at today are in the Explore tab. So let's go ahead and head over to Explore. This is the basic landing page here for Explore, and let's look at Explore species. So if you're curious about where to find something in Lane County, you can check it out here. So let's do white pelican. And probably most of you know that white pelicans are mostly at Fern Ridge here. The basic page here shows pictures that eBird users have contributed to eBird, and there's also some basic identification, a range map, how many times I've reported white pelicans in eBird, 179 times here, how many times eBirders have reported it. I've taken 3 photos of white pelicans. I haven't done any audio of white pelicans, but very few people have. They're probably not easy to get an audio recording of. So there's quite a few options here if you're just interested in the species. And then if you want to know where it is locally, we can click here on this large map. And it's going to take us over to a range map. All right, and we can zoom into Eugene. Okay, so here's a map of the Eugene area, and we can click points to see sightings and checklists at that location. So, and the red ones are recent, the blue ones are older. So let's pick one of these red ones. Okay, and we can see at Fern Ridge Fishery Butte Unit South that a whole bunch of people have seen them recently. And you could go click on this if you wanted to see more information about that sighting. So we can also, this right now, we're looking at year-round, all years of data. And you'll notice that it's clustered around Fern Ridge, but there's also some sightings around. That's probably people getting a flyover flock. We can also filter it down to just the current year if we want to just see where they're being reported right now. So far this year, people have pretty much just reported them around Fern Ridge. So that's some ways that you can use the range map to explore what's available. If we go back to Explore here, so the photos and sounds has similar tool where we can look up what's where photos have been seen. If you're interested in seeing some photos for regional variation, say you're going to travel, hopefully soon we'll all get to travel again, and so you're going to travel somewhere and you want to know what maybe the song sparrows, if they look different there, then here you can do that. I've also used it to see a photo of a rare bird before I go and check it. Some of you may remember that there was a pygmy nuthatch in South Eugene recently. So we can put in pygmy nuthatch and we can choose location and county. Now we are looking at photos of pygmy nuthatches taken in Lane County. Well, there's not very many records of pygmy nuthatch in Lane County, so this is the only the fact that we're looking at photos of pygmy nuthatch means it's the same one that everybody saw. So before I went to look for this bird, I pulled it up so I could see exactly what this bird looked like, you know, this specific individual bird looked like. And I was also able to see the feeders it's been hanging out on, so I knew which feeders to look at when I got there. So that's a fun way to use the eBird photo tool to be able to see what a rare bird looks like before you get there. So we can also clear the filters, and you can choose, you can drill all the way down to location if you want. I happen to know that there is a really cool albino American robin that Perkins Peninsula. So let's look at American robin and Perkins Peninsula. And I'm going to change this from recently uploaded over to oldest first. Now we can see the history of this robin at Perkins Peninsula. So a whole bunch of different people took these photos and contributed them to eBird. And this first photo here, you can see it's got a black head and some white belly. But then the next winter, it was quite a bit whiter. We presume it's the same bird. Nobody knows that for sure, but presume that. And then later on, the next winter, it was even whiter. And you may recognize some of these photographers are people that come to our meetings. So, so that's one way you can use the tool to see where to see that birds organized by the locations they were seen at. So, all right. And other thing we can do here with the photo tool is let's go ahead and clear the filters again. Okay, we can switch to My Media. And now it's going to show things I have observed. And I don't have a good camera, but I do have a smartphone that's able to make audio recordings. So I've had a lot of fun making audio recordings the last couple of years. And I will show you one of mine here that is a Canada goose recording I took at Meadowlark Prairie. And we'll go ahead and play it. So I like how you can see the sonogram as well as listen to it. I find that's a helpful thing afterwards when I'm studying what I've seen for the day. And if you want to be able to listen to, again, a regional dialect, you can filter down to location and be able to hear sounds of a recording from a specific time in a specific place. So, all right, let's look at hotspots here. So, hotspot, most of the birders think of hotspot as a place with lots of birds, but eBird uses it a little bit more broadly, and eBird uses hotspot as a shared birding location. And so the hotspot map is covered with all these shared birding locations, and the more red dots here have had more species reported at them, and the yellow dots have had less. When you are submitting eBird data through your app, you've got to choose the hotspot if you want to share it with a hotspot. And there's good reasons for doing a personal location. There's good reasons for doing a hotspot. The thing to know is that in order for it to show up in the hotspot tool, you do have to choose to report it at that hotspot. If you're reporting, say you're doing a stationary count somewhere, then it could be more valuable for science if you do a personal location that shows exactly where you were. But if you're just wandering around a local birding place like a lot of us are, using the hotspot's very appropriate and will be more useful for other eBirders. So I have a pond near my house called Danabo Pond. And there's a hotspot for it. And it's in a pretty industrial zone here, and we can click on directions and see a map for it. Oops. So in West Eugene here, and we've got Beltline, Roosevelt, and Danabo. So it's not easy to access. It happens to be close enough that I can walk to it. There's no parking, and you have to stand in the bike lane to see it because it's private property, which this label here saying restricted access, that's what that is there for. Restricted access just means you need to know the rules before you go to it. So anyway, it's not a place that very many people go birding at because it is difficult to get to. Well, that's very useful data for science. The places that have lots of people reporting, scientists already have data from there, but your industrial pond or your parking lot or something else, there's not as much data for science. So it's a very useful thing to do. Your yard, you may be the only person reporting data for your yard. If you put it into eBird, that'll help fill in a spot on the map. So we can see details here. Last year when the pandemic started and I shifted to working from home, I started going for more walks as a way to get away from the screens all day long and started checking out this pond more often. And then a researcher up in Washington asked eBirders to participate in a study to see if the shutdown added caused more activity among the birds. So I participated in this study, and I'm going to do it again here in our little industrial pond. So here's the hotspot landing page. You can see recent sightings, you can see recent visits, you can see who the top eBirders are. So this is me here with the 95 species. And you can also look at the bar chart. So let's go ahead and click on bar charts. The bar chart tool shows you, it splits it up into 4 weeks per month and puts sightings in there. So in order to fill out a bar chart, somebody has to go birding there every week of the year, and shows the bars increasing and decreasing show how likely some birds are going to be there. So you can see that the ringneck ducks are gonna disappear from the pond in another month and a half here, and then they'll be gone, and then they'll come back in the winter. We can also narrow this down, just look at just a specific year. So let's look at 2020, since we know I paid closer attention to this last year. So let's filter this down to 2020. And you can see that I missed a week in January before I was thinking about this last year. And then I missed a couple weeks in September because of the smoke. I didn't make it over there during that time frame. But the whole rest of the year, myself or somebody else made it to the pond and did checklists. And so we got a pretty cool bar graph here showing all the information for the year. And you can see the specific week that I found a solitary sandpiper at the pond. And, you know, so things like this are, I think, a really neat way to see on the bar charts. So there's a custom tool where you can do multiple bar charts. So let's go take a look at that. If we go back to Explore and we look at bar charts, I used this when I went to Ecuador to visit my parents. And, you know, Ecuador has a lot of species that are possible, but I wanted to narrow it down to what was likely when I was there. So, if you do here and do hotspots, you have a lot of different options here. You can choose the entire region, you choose locations you visited. I'm going to do hotspots today. All right, and then I went through here and found the hotspots that I was probably going to travel to or nearby and click them. But for today's exercise, we'll just pick a couple of random ones here. And so you can lump multiple hotspots here together and be able to see what's been reported there. Well, say I know what time of year I'm going to be there. So I can change this and say I'm going to be there in January. And that's going to narrow down the number of birds that are shown on this graph to only the ones that have been reported in January, which then makes it much more manageable when you're studying to go to a new area. It does still show the whole calendar, but all the birds that are on the list here are going to be ones that have reported here in January. So you can use this for any private personal locations as well if you want to look at your neighborhood lists or anything like that. You can use the bar chart tool here for doing that. All right. So let's head over to Explore Regions, and you probably, let's go back to Lane County again. And This is similar to the hotspot landing page. You can see sightings, recent photos, recent visits, top eBirders, and top hotspots. So here, if you want to know which hotspots have had the most, remember hotspots are shared birding locations. So which hotspots have had the most reports of them, you can click through here. There's also a fun little graph up here called Illustrated Checklist. So this combines a couple of the things we've looked at, and it shows the bar chart. It also shows a photo that's been taken, and it has a link to audio, and it shows you who has last reported it. So Emperor Goose, there hasn't been one in Lane County for quite a while, but there's other things on here that were probably reported yesterday. So this is a real fun tool if you want to be able to see photos of a place you're going to and be able to browse through them. You can also switch it over to the current year if you'd like and just see what's happened this year. Or you can go ahead and change to a different location from this view as well. All right, let's go back to the Lane County overview. I really enjoy looking at recent visits, so let's go ahead and look at that. And this is going to show checklists that were submitted more than an hour ago. It shows the last 100, and you can choose to opt out of this list if you don't want your sightings shown here. And you can also, when you create a personal location, you can choose to name it what you want. And when you don't name it, it will automatically put a longitude and latitude on here. But you can see that some people have changed their names to be more anonymous. And so that's a good option to know about. The other thing you may notice while you're here is that some of these names have a link that are blue and some do not. These people have chosen to share an eBird profile. And so let's go ahead and we can click on me here. And this shows some information about me, that I'm a regional reviewer. It's a volunteer for eBird for Lane County, and I'm the hotspot editor for Oregon. So before somebody, when somebody recommends a new shared birding location, I'm the one that takes a look at it and decides if it is a good candidate to be a shared birding location. And we can zoom out. You can see how I've eBirded in Oregon, United States, and the world. So the people have turned this on. If you're curious to see some more information on them, you can. All right. So let's do another poll here and summarize what we have just learned. Okay, so should be seeing a poll coming up, and this is just for fun. Which of these tools that we just learned about did you enjoy learning about? So we looked at the science, the status and trend map. We looked at explore species and the range map. We went through the explore photos and the explore sounds. We looked at the hotspots map. We looked at bar charts. We looked at explore region and illustrated checklists and the recent 100 checklist. So quite a few things we just went zooming through. Hopefully some of these were new for you and you're able to use them in the future here. Oh. All right, I'll give it about 10 more seconds. People a chance to finish voting. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this one up. We can share the results. You can see Lots of things people like learning about. Looks like the Explore region was just barely the favorite out of a whole bunch of other things. So, okay, so that's the main tools on being able to look at other data that other people report. Now, if you choose to start using eBird, there's a whole bunch of cool tools to be able to look at your information. So let's go back to Explore. And one of the tools that eBird has is called Target Species. And Target Species tells you what in a region that you haven't seen. So we go to Lane County. And I'm going to do March, what's here in March, and that I haven't seen from my Lane County, and let's do year list. So, and if we do show target species, it's going to show me what's most likely in March, and it's going to tell you all that I still need a rufous hummingbird for my year list. I've not found one yet. And it's pretty frequently reported in March, and I haven't found it. So, and then it keeps going down. So if I'm thinking about where to go birding and I'm curious what year birds I could get, I can pull this up and see a list of what's likely coming in soon. So hopefully orange-crowned warblers will be here soon, and I'll get one of those. So that's one way you can do this tool. On a little gizmo that hopefully some of you more experienced people, hopefully this is a new trick for you. You can click on this gear knob here, and you can switch over to see photo targets and audio targets. So if you want to know what you haven't photographed yet, what you haven't audiographed yet, that is available under this hidden little button here. So, all right, so we can do a year list. I enjoy the day list. I'm eBirded long enough now that I've got sightings on every single day of the year. And I can choose this day list and show target species. And it will show me what I've never seen on March 23rd before. But the other thing I really like about this is it shows me my history of March 23rd. So I can click on this 76 and I can see what I have seen on March 23rd in the past. So that's fun to have a little way to look through my records and be reminded of fun sightings. And this morning when I looked at it, I remembered that I had a rufous hummingbird today in a pink bush down the block. And so I went down the block to see if that bush was blooming and if I could find a rufous hummingbird there. No luck, but it was nice to have that memory from last year that today was the day that the rufous hummingbird showed up. So, so that's the targets tool. The alerts tool, right next to it here, is similar, but instead of showing likely things, it shows birds that have actually been reported to eBird in the last week. And I have signed up for a couple things so that you can choose to get emails about this if you want. So if a new Lane County bird shows up that I've never seen, I get an email about it. You can look at ABA rarities, rare bird alerts, or here's our need list. So let's look at Lane County again. And let's look at this year only. So this is similar to the other one, except it's going to show actual sightings of birds that are here. And we could scroll down to rufous hummingbird and we could see lots of places people are seeing rufous hummingbird if I wanted to look at it this way. So this is another tool I use if I'm thinking about where to go birding and I'm curious about what I haven't seen yet. Gives me an idea. If you go to a new area, like say you go to another county and you're interested in county birding, it will tell you where some county birds are that you haven't seen yet. So, all right. Okay, the other couple of things you can do here, you can sign up to have a yard or a patch in this little yard total game. So it's totally for fun. You don't have to do it, but let's filter this down to Lane County. You can see just the Lane County ones. And you can compare yourself to other yards in the area, which I don't personally find is a very easy comparison. Everybody's got different yards, but the thing I more like is it shows me what my life list for my yard is, what the last species I added was. Finally got a rock pigeon for my yard list. What I've had this year, what the last one was for this year, and oh hey, that Townsend's warbler I mentioned earlier was the first time this month I've had a Townsend's warbler in the yard. So really fun stats here. You can also look at the bar chart from this method, and we can see you do have to report data for your yard all year round, at least once a week, to get a cool bar chart like this. But then once you do, you can see, so I'm going to be paying attention in May and see if greater white-fronted geese head over my yard again like they have before. So, some really fun ways to see the data. Now on this one, you may notice that there's some flat lines here. That means I reported that it was present that day, but I didn't do a complete checklist. So if you go through the eBird tutorial, it'll tell you what a complete checklist is. But in order to get the cool bar chart, you do have to do a complete checklist. Okay, so that's the yard tool. The patch tool is similar. eBird patches are a local area that you can bird regularly, and but it has more than one location in it, and you can add personal locations and hotspots into it. You may have heard about the 5-mile radius challenge. There's so a lot of people use eBird to keep track of their 5-mile radius. Last year, because I was stuck close to the house, I decided on a whim to add a 1-mile radius for myself, and I can see how many species I've recorded within a mile of my house, and I can see a bar chart of that as well. So, so the patch list has a ton of fun stuff we can do. So, for example, Meadowlark Prairie has 4 or 5 hotspots, and I've got them all lumped here under my patch, so I can see everything I've recorded there all in one place, and know if I get a new Meadowlark Prairie list bird. All right, and the other main way you have to do your own data is to look at my eBird. So this is a landing page for all of my stats in eBird, and there's a whole lot of options here. I'm not going to go through too many of them, but you can see what I've observed, complete checklist. They have a checklist streak that shows how many days in a row you've submitted data to eBird. I've got a pretty good streak going at the moment. You can go to managing all your things and see recent checklists. But one really fun tool from this way, say I want to know how many black phoebes I've seen this year. Well, I can click on this 130 here for 2021. And I can choose to filter this down to a specific species. So let's do black phoebe. And then you can see all the black phoebe sightings I've seen this year. And if I want to, I can change the sort function and look at location and be able to see. So every now and then, if I've got a question, I wonder if I've seen that here before, how many times I've seen it, you can use this tool to really be able to slice and dice your data and look at a whole bunch of stuff here. The other, you can, from this window, we can switch from 2021 to all years if we want to go down to a specific month, a specific day, if we want to change the places. So once you get into this view, you've got a ton of options to be able to look at different data options. You can also download things and play with it in Excel as well. So, all right. Okay, so you might have concerns about having all your information visible for people to see. You can choose quite a few things. to not show it if you don't want to. So if you go up to your profile and preferences here, you can choose to change your name so it says anonymous eBirder. You can choose to hide your data from recent visits. That's the page we looked at from that showed what people have been seeing recently. You can also hide the data from eBird alerts. If you don't want somebody to get emailed when you find a rare bird, you can turn that off. And you can hide data from the top 100. We haven't looked at that one, but that is just a comparison tool for how people are listing. And you can turn off your checklist comments. So those are all ways that you can turn off things if you don't want to share them. You can also, we looked at the profile. You can turn that off as well. Actually, it will be off unless you turn it on. And it's right here, edit profile. So I've chosen to make my profile public. You can also say that you don't want your checklist to show on your profile. So that's an option as well. So a lot of different ways to set the privacy settings for the way you want it to be. Your data will still be available for scientists if you turn everything off, but it won't be as visible for other eBirders to be able to use to know where to go birding. So let's do another poll here and summarize what we just learned. All right, so which personal data tools are you looking forward to using? And you can choose more than one here if you want to. So we looked at target species and being able to look up what's likely to be seen in that you haven't seen yet, what's likely for the time of year. We looked at today in history, where you can see what you've posted in the past. We looked at alerts, where you can see specific sightings of birds you haven't seen. We looked at the barred chart and the yard tool. We looked at the patch list tool. And then we looked at the My eBird interface and some of the options there for being able to look at your tools there. So those are all ways that you can put your data into the system and then be able to get it right back out. You can also export your whole entire data whenever you want to and have it backed up somewhere else if you would like to do that. All right. About 5 more seconds here and see. I think everybody's had a chance to vote. I'll share the results. All right, people think that the target species will be a fun thing to look at, and yard bird charts will also be a really fun thing to look at. All right, let's wrap it up here with some ways to learn more. So, back to the Explore page. The bottom here, there's ways to learn more. The submission map that we looked at with the yellow dots, the link is down here. The eBird Essentials tutorial that we talked about there's a link here that will take you through a whole bunch of lessons on some basics, and it's free. You just have to have a login, and they will take you through. There was a list here. Yeah, here. Okay, so I'll take you through what is eBird, how to find birds near you, how to share your sightings, how to use My eBird, and that you're ready to eBird. So that is one way that you can learn more, is go through this tutorial. It's going to cover stuff in more detail than especially for submitting. And all right, and there's a link here for Merlin Bird ID. You can put this on your phone and put a photo into it or some details, and it will help you identify what's likely this time of year. That uses all the data that's put into eBird to narrow down what's likely and help you make identification based off of not just what it looks like, but what's possible this time of year. The eBird app will also help you with that. It has, it shows you what's common versus what's rare. It also has dots that show you if something's been reported near you recently. There's also if you want to quiz yourself on photos or sounds for a place you're going to travel to, you can do that as well. And if we go back to the eBird homepage here, there are articles posted every week or so with various information about eBird. And one of the things they do every month is they do an eBirder of the Month challenge. And the challenge talks, every month they focus on something that's a good eBird habit. And if you do it, in general, your data will be better for science. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, but in general, they're teaching you about things that will make your data more useful. So March's challenge is to submit 31 checklists that are complete that every single bird you report is counted. So our cackling geese flocks that are a major pain to count, there's information in here about how to count bigger groups of birds, and an estimate is better than nothing at all. And so I've learned how to count better since I've been doing this. But so every single month there's a challenge here, and then one birder from the thousands that participate gets a free pair of binoculars and gets featured on here. So that's a fun way you can learn more about eBird. And there's also a help center here that's got a lot more information with a lot of questions. And then there's local volunteers. So I'm a volunteer, Tom Mickle is a volunteer. If you submit something with the eBird app and it's rare, we may write to you and ask you to document it for science. And if you add some more information about what you identified and how you ruled out the more common species, then we can make a note there that it's been well documented. And but you know, we're here to help, and and we can answer more questions as well. So, all right, and that covers the ways to learn more. So let's do one last poll here to wrap it up. And if you're interested in learning more, which of these options are you willing to give a try out here to in the near future? So the things we just talked about, and you can create an eBird account. If you haven't yet, you can check out Merlin for ID help. You can use an eBird resource tool like we looked at earlier to look up a map or species stuff. You could learn how to do the eBird Essentials tutorial. And you could read a Help Center article. You could do a monthly challenge. These are all ways that you could learn more if you would like to. I hope that you have enjoyed this tour here of the eBird website and got some ideas on things you can explore, and maybe even got excited about potentially contributing information to eBird. So, all right, I'm going to wrap up this poll here and share the results. And it looks like a bunch of people are interested in doing the eBird Essentials tutorial and reading Help Center article, and a bunch of people are going to start a new eBird account. Very nice. All right, I am available for eBird questions. If anybody has any. And do you guys usually do them in the chat at this point?
Yeah, folks, feel
They usually come in,
yeah,
various ways. While they're coming in, though, I wanted to just say how marvelous this presentation was. What a great job you did in organizing things and putting things together so well. Man, I learned an awful lot, and I've got a lot of things that I'm going to try after seeing this.
Good.
Do we have some questions coming in?
We've got a question from Ingrid. What's a good app for my phone to record birds?
Yeah, I use an app called Song Sleuth. And the thing I really like about it is that it has a 3 seconds in the past feature. So you can be standing there with it turned on, but not recording, and listen. And when the bird starts singing, you can push the start button and it goes backwards 3 seconds and it catches the start of the song. So it's called Song Sleuth. And you can save those recordings and upload them to eBird.
Cool, thank you. From Alan, we have a statement rather than a question. Absolutely superb. From Rebecca, are you available for app tutorial?
After you watch the eBird Essentials, sure.
And from Betsy, fantastic overview and amazing program. Will a recording of this presentation be available to share with a friend afterwards? Yes, we will have a recording and we will post the link on our website and on our Facebook page, so you can find it there. From Hillary, how do I find names of hotspots in our area?
Yeah. So let me share again here and I'll. So if we go to eBird and go to Explore and go to Explore Regions and do Lane County. All right, so down here is top hotspots. We can do this, more hotspots. And we can see the top 100 hotspots in Lane County, and you can click on any of them. If you want to see Doris Ranch, there it is. So I hope that helps, Hillary.
That's great. Thank you. From Ingrid. From Kelly, can you talk about beginner eBirders' fear of reviewers?
Yeah, so I know people are intimidated sometimes by writing notes. You don't have to be, and you can choose not to do it, but part of the program is trying to document things for science. And so in order to do that, sometimes you need to have notes if it's something that's more unusual. So, and Tom and I will help if you're not quite sure what kind of notes to write. We're real people trying to figure out how to help people navigate. You can also say, I don't have notes, and that's okay. It just means that we can't record it at the same level for science that we could with notes. And it's only rare birds that we're talking about, all the common birds. You don't have to document them that thoroughly. So, but yeah, it's just, we're trying to help eBird collect the information for, to be able to document stuff for science.
Vjera, there are times when I've put in a bird accidentally. I do it on my phone and my finger hits the wrong bird. And then I get an email telling me that, I saw an ostrich in my yard.
Yeah.
I realized, I guess I must have hit the wrong button. And then it's no big deal. So
yeah, and I'll do that if I think something's a typo. I'll email somebody and say, that's usually not there. Did you accidentally push that? But I had a really funny story last year. I was helping my brother-in-law do eBird in his backyard, and he thought I said red knots, and he put 2 red knots on his checklist. And then he got an email from Tom Mickles saying, are you sure you had a red knot in your backyard? I don't think that's what it was. So it does help if you make an accidental typo. It does help with that. So, and then the other one that the details are useful for is high numbers, and you just need to describe what kind of counting methodology you used. So, I did an estimate, or I counted by 10, and then I guessed roughly counted how many 10s there would be. But again, it's trying to avoid typos, right? It's if you meant to put 100 and you put 1,000 in, we don't want that to show up in the database without confirming that that's what you meant to do.
Great, thank you. From Alan, is it true that eBird proves that Sally Hill has the ability to be in 3 places at the same time?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, yeah. From Ron, great program. Do you count flyovers in your yard?
I do, But the eBird rules are you can count anything from that you observe from where you were. That doesn't, not everybody would want to do that. Say if they were in one, like say they were on the Texas side of the Mexico border and they saw a bird on the Mexico side, you might not want to count it on your US list, but there are ways to go around it. But I definitely count flyovers for my yard. That's the greater white-fronted geese are not landing in my yard.
And thanks for letting us know the name of the app for bird songs, Song Sleuth, that's in the chat. And from Betsy, I have an app for identifying bird songs called BirdNet. Does eBird or Merlin do that?
Yeah, so Song Sleuth has the ability. I haven't had great luck with it. eBird is working on adding that to Merlin, and I've gotten to be involved in some of the beta, looking at sonograms and telling it what kind of the sonogram is the bird song. So I think probably in the next year or two, Merlin will be able to take a song recording and try to guess at what kind of bird it is. The photo tool works really well if you have a reasonable photo of something and you know where you took it. So, but Merlin does not have the ability to do songs yet.
Did anybody else have an eBird question? Thank you so much. I'm so excited about learning more and using these tools. This was great.
Okay, well, next month, don't forget we have Nate Center. Going to talk about flamingos in the Altiplano of Chile. And if any of you out there have been looking for a diademed plover, you're going to see some in next week's program. So that's it. That should be fun. See you next month.
Thanks everyone for joining, and thanks to Vera again. It was really a wonderful program. We all learned a lot. Good to see you all.